Hey there! Welcome back to the Life with All Dogs podcast. I am recording live outside. It is such a gorgeous fall day. I mean, look at the colors back there in our woods. There's a nice breeze. It's probably in the 50s. It's sunny. It feels great. And I decided, hey, why don't we just record live outside? This way I could get the mental health benefits from being outside, and you can see the lovely fall foliage here in northeastern PA. I mean, look at that. It's gorgeous, right? So I was just down in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, a couple of weekends ago, actually twice, visiting family and friends, and I noticed a couple of things. It's still very green down there as opposed to here. They've just started to turn the trees and fall into fall foliage, but not too much. It's mostly green down there still. And the other thing I noticed is I got a sinus infection. So I used to live down there for a little while and always had sinus issues. And so when we moved back up north, I noticed that the sinus issues slowly but surely went away, and I don't have them anymore. But when I go back down, yeah, they're back again. So I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's certain trees down there. I mean, we Lord knows we have trees here too, but maybe it's a certain tree that they have more of down there. I don't know. Maybe it's that there's more vehicles on the road down there. I don't know what it is, but I always get a sinus infection if I'm down there too much. So glad to be home for sure. Okay, so yeah, recording live outside. Today we're going to talk about diet. We're going to talk about, I'm not going through the food pyramid and all that stuff, but we're talking about diet and how it affects you personally, which in turn affects your senior German Shepherd. I should say caring for your senior German Shepherd, because if your diet's not great, there's a trickle down effect to that, and that trickle down effect leads to how you go through life and your ability to care for your older German Shepherd. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Okay, your body is basically your vehicle through this life. Okay, that's what it does. It gets you through this life from beginning to end. All right. And obviously, when we start out, our body's fresh, our body's brand new. It's hopefully, fingers crossed, you were born healthy and your body's healthy, and you go through life primarily healthy, but bodies age. Bodies basically wither away and die. All right, just like a plant in the ground, a bird on a wire. I mean, we're the same. We're the same. We start, we age, we pass away. So the food that we put into our body is our fuel. That's what keeps us running, right? And just like your car at the gas station, you can either put the cheap fuel in it that will probably, get you from point A to point B, no problem. But over time, it's gonna gum up your engine. It's gonna junk things up, and maybe you won't get optimum optimum engine life out of your vehicle because you were using the lowest, cheapest level of gas that you could possibly get. And we all know gas is super expensive, so I am super, super guilty of that right now. But it is better too. I mean, typically there are like 3 levels of gas, right? There's, I think, I'm not sure if 89 octane's the highest, whatever. I'm not even going to get into that, but I always try to go middle of the road. That's what I try to do, middle of the road. And I try to do the same with my body, but I always aim for the higher octane with my body, if you will. But most of the time on a daily basis, I'm going right for middle of the road. And the reason I'm saying this is because let's face it, life is happening. Life is happening all around us. I've got, fall foliage behind me. I've got little Maximus, my cat, in the window right there trying to get out. You can't see him. I just picked a tick off of Nona and Savvy. I'm trying to get this podcast done. I'm trying to get to the gym later on. I'm trying to pay bills. All kinds of stuff, just like you, right? Trying to get wash done, cleaning stuff up off the floor and whatnot, and figure out what's for dinner. I mean, there's just so much going on a daily basis that it's like a full-time job to actually follow the food pyramid precisely. I mean, how do you do that? Because I've yet to figure that out. All right. So that's why I say I aim for middle of the road in terms of my diet, because I have a goal. I have a personal goal. I want to be a centenarian. And I don't want to be like in a nursing home when I'm a centenarian. I want to be active and still motoring right along. When my body finally craps out, I want it to be like dead stop. That's it. I don't want to like wither away. So I know I have to try to ingest as many healthy food options as I can. Not just for my personal goals, but also to take care of the senior German Shepherds here at Woody's Place. So I always try to aim for that balanced diet throughout the day. And like I do with the seniors here, where we do an 80-20 split or a 70-30 split for home cooked and kibble and canned. I try to do the same for my own personal diet, again, because it's unrealistic to think that every single day my diet is going to be perfect due to schedule and stress, right? So yes, I try to do that food pyramid where I'm eating mostly the fruits and vegetables and the lean meats and all that stuff, and fats and sugary stuff is kind of the little point up top there. That being said, there are some days that, either for different reasons, that I'm completely stressed and I feel like life has just gotten away from me. And when I get to that point, I'm reaching for junk. I'm just reaching for junk. If there's Reese peanut butter cups nearby, that's it's my kryptonite. And coffee, like especially iced coffee, that is also my kryptonite. Iced tea, sweet iced tea, that's another kryptonite for me. I want things like that, or baked goods like cookies or something like that. Not store-bought. It has to be homemade. I'm actually picky about it. But I know that's not good for me. And when I was younger and, hormones were all a thing, that was rough. That was really, really rough, because there were days where I knew I had eaten like days of crap that I shouldn't have been eating. Pizzas, hoagies, just junk. And I just kept reaching for it because of, hormones not just being out of control or whatever. So when I'm talking about this might have been when I was, I have kids, so it might have been when I was expecting a child, or, the aftermath, and hormones were just all over the place. So so I realized things like that happen, and you reach for junky stuff that isn't really good for you. But I just want to point out that there are consequences for those actions, both on the physical, your physical health level, and your mental health level. I mean, you can go and eat all that stuff, but you're going to have a price to pay, and you may not even see it right away. You may see it, down the road, 6 months, a year, 5 years, whatever. But it definitely does ding your vehicle, okay? And eventually, it's gonna catch up to you. So let's talk about the physical health aspect of diet and how it affects your physical well-being. Well, again, like I said, your body is your vehicle, and you need it to be in tip-top shape to help your older German Shepherd and to keep yourself vibrant and well. So as I just said, if you're eating all this heavily sugary foods and sugary drinks, sodas, Starbucks, iced teas, lemonades, all that stuff, Red Bull, whatnot. If you're eating a lot of heavily processed foods, boxed pizzas, value meals on a menu through a drive-through, or donuts at your favorite coffee place, or something along those lines, there's a good chance that eventually that it's going to lead to something you're not going to want to have to deal with. And it could be heart disease, it could be high blood sugar, obesity, diabetes, metabolic syndrome. I mean, there's autoimmune diseases. There's a whole bunch of things that that sort of a diet leads to. Not to mention, it wreaks havoc on your gut health, and a large majority of your immune system is in your gut. So if you're not taking care of your gut health, you're going to probably end up sick a lot, which who wants to be sick? Who wants to be running to the pharmacy all the time, picking up prescriptions and going to the doctors, every 6 months to get blood work done and stuff like that? So what we put in our body defines us, okay? It's the old adage, we are what we eat. And what we put in our body defines us. All right. So they're just some of the physical aspects, too. The thing is, like I was talking about the cheaper gas gumming up your engine, the cheap food gums up your body inside. It makes you sluggish. You don't really feel like getting out there and going to the gym, or maybe getting out there and being social with your friends, getting out there and walking your older German Shepherd, who probably is really wanting for that to happen. And I just want to point this out. If you're eating like sleeves of Oreo cookies and Ritz crackers and, all these things. I shouldn't have said that, but, I shouldn't have named a name. But your dog's right there with you. Your older German Shepherd's right there with you. And I can guarantee if you're eating one, you're probably handing one over to them too. And again, I am not saying that there is anything wrong at all about, there's Max. He's there. He's 13 years old. He's my best bud. He's lived a great life. I'm eating cookies, and I'm going to give Max a cookie too. Who cares? Give Max a cookie. It doesn't matter. But if you are giving one for you, one for Max, one for you, one for Max, wow, that's a problem. That's a problem, and it's not only hurting you, it's hurting Max as well. And I can almost guarantee you don't want to hurt. I can guarantee you that you probably don't want to hurt him before you were even thinking of yourself. Really, I know a lot of people who are like that. So if you have trouble with eating that way, think of him. Think of him and think about if something happens to you, what will happen to him? What will happen to Max if something happens to you? So that is a good visual right there. Okay, you definitely want to try to aim for those healthier foods that I was talking about. The lean proteins, more fruits and vegetables in your diet, nuts, seeds, fish, things along those lines. And if you are going to have a snack, just have it in moderation. Just have a little every once in a while. Again, I told you I love Reese peanut butter cups. I mean, there's like really not a Reese peanut butter cup I could turn up. So I don't have them here in the house. And we're getting close to Halloween, so I've been squirreling away candy for trick-or-treaters. And it's like, I cannot buy Reese peanut butter cups for the trick-or-treaters because I'll end up eating them all. So I don't put myself in that situation. But are there times where I'm at the grocery store checkout and of course there it is, the candy right there at the end, and I see Reese peanut butter cups and here it is 4:00 in the afternoon and I hadn't had a chance to eat since breakfast, and yep, that's what I'm grabbing because A, I need that sugar fix, B, I'm kind of stressed at that point, and C, it's just a quick pick me up. Am I proud of it? No. Do I struggle with it? Yes. I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress. That goes for drinks too. I am a fool for iced coffee. I love iced coffee. So I let myself have some iced coffee. I try not to get it out like it's Starbucks or my favorite coffee houses here in the Lake region of the Poconos, which we actually have some pretty good ones. I mean, and I laugh because we're in the sticks, and oddly enough, we have like good coffee houses here. So I try to limit myself to that. Instead, I bought supplies to make iced coffee here at the sanctuary for myself, and this way I limit what's going in it. I make my own coffee creamer, so I'm not getting anything hydronized or extra sugary or whatever in the creamer. So I make my own creamer, and then I also make my own caramel syrup because I like caramel syrup as opposed to sugar. So I make my own right here, and I try to use honey as opposed to sugar for a sweetener. Matter of fact, this is my drink right here. This is just seltzer water, which I also make myself. I bought a machine to make my own seltzer water instead of always buying seltzer water at the store. And you can see it's like kind of tinted yellow. That's just because I flavor it with local raw honey that I have. So I do pick and choose my battles, and that's, I think, what adds a good balance to your diet. Is you're not always going to be 100% successful in living that food pyramid day in and day out, week after week, month after month, year after year, but you do want to strive to live a healthy lifestyle. So all right, so I'm talking about sugars. Sugar's a big one. They sneak it in a lot of stuff, a lot of prepackaged stuff that you just wouldn't even think that sugars are in there, let alone just garbage, chemicals and unhealthy fats and stuff like that. But talking about sugar, sugar equals inflammation in your body and in your brain. Okay, so now I'm kind of getting into the mental health aspect of how diet affects your mental well-being. And we just talked about your mental well-being last week, caring for your mental well-being while caring for your older German Shepherd. Sugar plays a big one. It's refined sugar. It's a big one. And the inflammation and ingesting too much refined sugars can actually lead to mood disorders. It has been linked to depression and anxiety. I know there's all this talk about sugars and kids with ADHD. I've made no secret that I have ADHD. I'm 54. I always had it, right? Was in special education classes, starting in third grade, all through my life, and IEP through college followed me. So does it, me personally, having ADHD and ingesting too much sugar, is that really true? I'm going to say yes, it is. Because when I have days that I'm just, compromising too much of myself, I'm too stressed, there's too much going on, I'm taking this hat off to put this hat on, Woody's place, life, work, all kinds of stuff. And it's just like, oh my God, I can't take it. I'm grabbing for all the junk and everything and all the unhealthy stuff, like I said, chocolate and chips and coffee and nasty stuff, just nasty stuff. I have more trouble focusing. I have more trouble sleeping. I'm extremely hyper during those times. I'm pissy, just completely pissy. I'm not a pleasant person to be around when I get like that. And I did it to myself, basically. So yes, sugar definitely affects kids and people with ADHD in my experience. And that is coming from someone who has it. So if you have a kid who has ADHD, cut back on the refined sugar for sure. But inflammation also leads to all those other things that I was just talking about. in terms of your physical health as well, heart disease, cardiovascular disease, and things of that nature. So you want to eliminate as much inflammation in your body and your brain as possible. And a good way to do that is to cut out the refined sugars and flour. I'm going to say refined flour too. That's no good either. Just do whole wheat flour. If you can, unless you're gluten-free, and you can. So let's see. See, I'm having a moment right now, probably because of my iced coffee I just had a while ago. So diet and your mental well-being, your mental health. One thing that I try to incorporate to help with my mental health, well, I always do a probiotic, a good probiotic, pro and prebiotic, I should say, to help with my gut health and my health in general and all that stuff. But I also try to include omega-3 fatty acids every day. So the dogs here of Woody's Place, the residents here of Woody's Place, get a lot of coconut oil. It's cold pressed, unrefined, organic coconut oil. It's sustainably sourced. Like, I make sure I know where it comes from, because that's really important to me. But it's good. It's good for the dogs. It fights against unhealthy bacteria. It's good for their coat. It's good for their skin. It's just good for their overall health. I will put it in their food, and I also put it on them. Like Savvy has canine lupus, and she has what's called old dog nose. Really, it's hyperkeratosis. So she gets like thick crusties all over her nose, and you can't pick them off, because if you pick them off, then they bleed. It's like really very pink underneath those scabs, and her skin on her nose is thin. So the poor girl, even if she bumps it on something, it will bleed. She was on medication, I don't know, for a couple of years through her previous owner, and that was a big no-no. It was an antibiotic, of all things, that this poor dog was on for 2 years. And come on, 2 years? What do you think that antibiotic's doing after, a few weeks? Like, it's nothing. So we took her off of it, and I started looking into her diet and her gut health and her, the overall picture, and was trying to heal her from the inside out. Lupus is an autoimmune disease, so I was trying to heal her from the inside out, keeping her stress level down, and giving her a great diet. And our vet is very pleased with the way her nose looks. If you saw her, would you say, "Oh God"? You would be like, "What is wrong with her nose?" Because it doesn't look like the other dogs here, but it's never going to. She's always going to have this until she passes away. But does it look great from the time she arrived here, and compared to, unfortunately, other dogs in the same situation as her, whose owners really aren't as knowledgeable about hyperkeratosis, or maybe just don't care? Yeah, hers looks great. And our vet thinks so, and I'm really, really proud of that. So I'm always trying to put coconut oil on her nose. Now, she licks it, which I don't want her to do, obviously. If her nose is sore and chapped and has these scabs all over it and bleeds, we don't want her licking it. So I came up with my own solution, my own cream, if you will, or it's more like a ointment. But I did put a little organic beeswax in it. So I've talked about this area many times, and obviously people think it's great because we've just had like this huge influx of people who moved here over the last couple of years. But we have a lot of honey producers, within like 25 miles of here. Again, it's an agricultural area, so there's a lot of honey producers. So I can go get a honeycomb like that, and honey, and I mix some honey and beeswax. I don't put the honey. I'm looking at my honey, and I'm saying I mix honey in. I don't mix honey in. I mix beeswax in. I get the honey for me, and I get beeswax for her, and I put it in this ointment that I make. And at some point, I will post the recipe. So basically, it's got shea butter, it's got coconut oil, vitamin E, and then beeswax in it. So the beeswax kind of makes it like a chapstick. And I warm it up just a little, not enough that it's going to burn her at all, especially because her nose is so sensitive. But I warm it up a little to make it like pliable, and then I kind of just wipe it across her nose. I do like this little massage on her nose, and then I'm like massaging her face and stuff like that because I don't want her to lick it, because I want it to dry, because it creates like this little, beeswax shield over her nose. And then that coconut oil, vitamin E, and shea butter gets to soak into her nose and make those hard, crusty things a little bit softer, and eventually they will slough off. But then it's still pink underneath. So I'm trying to do the best I can with her, and our vet is happy, so that's it. Anyway, I don't even know how I got down that rabbit hole. I really don't. I just went off on a tangent there. I was talking about coconut oil and omega-3. So the dogs eat coconut oil. They also take antinol, which is green-lipped mussel from New Zealand, and that is omega-3 as well. So that, again, it's good for their joint health. It's good for their skin and their coat, and the coconut oil obviously has antibacterial properties as well. So it's good for us too, folks. Coconut oil is fantastic. You just have to make sure you're getting a good product, and not just kind of like some sludge in a container with a coconut oil label slapped on top of it. So omega-3s are definitely something you want to try to incorporate in your diet. Nuts and seeds. Nuts and seeds are another big one. Not for the dogs. Again, I'm talking about us and our own personal vehicle that gets us through life. And nuts and seeds are easy to eat. I eat a lot of flaxseed. A lot. A little too much. It gives me indigestion because I eat too much. So I had to cut back on the flaxseed. But it's easy. It's just easy to eat. Nuts are another thing. I rotate between Brazilian nuts, walnuts, sunflower seeds, pecans. Oh my God, I love pecans. And I'll just eat them as a snack or whatever, but they're high calories, so you can only eat like a little bit, not the whole can. And that's the other thing, you want to eat this good stuff, but in moderation. But I'll put flaxseed and nuts in my smoothie. So my diet, let me just give you kind of like a bird's eye view of what I'm doing for my diet. I try to rotate my breakfast between about 5 or 6 different varieties of breakfast. And some of those varieties are, I eat eggs. I eat a lot of eggs. So I am eating eggs from my chickens. They're in the field up there on our property right now, out in the sunshine, eating bugs, eating whatever the heck they want, worms, whatnot. And they're very healthy, and they truly are free range. They lead a stress-free life, just like the residents here. So when you have chickens like that, they produce eggs that are very high in vitamins and minerals, okay? And the level of cholesterol is lower, because when you're buying eggs in the grocery store, and I've geeked out over this before on other podcasts, so I'm not going to do it to you again. They're not as healthy. The eggs are not as healthy. Most of them are coming from factory farms. These birds are completely stressed. There's a lot of disease. There's a lot of illness. They're producing more cortisol in these eggs because of the stress that they're feeling. They're not as high in vitamins and minerals. They're older. A lot of them are older. A lot of them are like 30 days old by the time they're getting to the grocery store. So think about that. So these eggs are fresh, and I eat a lot of eggs. And I always try to incorporate like avocado with it, or something along those lines. Ketchup. I'm one of those. Yep, I eat ketchup on my eggs. I also do oatmeal. So I buy wheat berries, and I'll get into who I buy the wheat berries from and all that stuff. And I process them myself, and then I soak them the night before I'm going to have them. And then the next day I just kind of drain them and rinse them. And then I'll eat them. I'll cook them, and I'll mix in some fruits, berries, bananas, whatever it is that I have, and then I'll eat that for breakfast. And I also put flaxseed in that, and nuts. Another breakfast that I'll have is a protein drink. So I'm also putting collagen. I put a lot of collagen in different things too throughout the day. Whatever the container says. I typically don't do it at once in one serving, whatever. I mix it up a little bit into some here, some there throughout the day. So the other big one is a protein breakfast drink that I have. And that consists of raw milk. So we do have raw milk, and I know there's people for that. There's people against that, whatever. I have never once been sick from raw milk. Never one time. But I know that people have been. I mean, there was, the reason that there's pasteurized milk is because back in the 1900s, I think like 25,000 people died from tuberculosis from raw milk that was contaminated. So, I get it. There's pros and cons, but you have to know your source, and you have to know the animals that the milk is coming from and how it's being processed. So I drink raw milk, and that protein drink will have raw milk. It'll have some sort of protein powder in it. And I mix fruits and vegetables in with that. Flaxseed again, collagen again, and cinnamon. Cinnamon's another something else I use a lot of, but you have to be careful with that because it can really lower your blood sugar, especially if you're diabetic. So you have to be careful with that if you're on medication for diabetes. And raw honey. I use raw honey, like I said, as a sweetener, and I just freaking love honey. So that's kind of another thing for me. I use a lot of honey. But so that protein drink right there fills me up, and then I feel good. I feel like I have energy. I feel like I have clarity. I'm not sluggish. I feel like I have stamina, and I can care for myself while I'm caring for the senior German Shepherds. Lunchtime is a little bit of a tricky spot for me. It depends on what I'm doing. If I'm here at the sanctuary, it's a little bit easier. If I'm out at my job, that's a little bit harder. And they're the days that I find I struggle with wanting to go through a drive-through and grabbing a value meal or something like that, which really isn't a value at all. And then I find that days like that are the days that I really don't feel like I have too much stamina, too much clarity. I'm a little more cranky, feel like I'm depleted by the time I get home to the residence here of Woody's place. And I don't like that. So I started to take things with me, whether it be granola. I like making granola too, my own granola. So it could be, I take some of that and a banana, and I'm forever carrying this. I have a bunch of these mason jars with these lids in the I am forever, because I don't like plastic either. So I'm forever carrying this around with me so that I know what I'm drinking is at least what I made, and I know that's in there, so I'm not getting any, junk from whatever it is that I'm drinking. Now, is that to say that, I won't have an iced tea or a lemonade or something like that sometimes? Oh my God, yeah, I do. Maybe a couple times a week. Do I think that's a bad thing? No, I don't. I also had, 2 glasses of wine over the weekend. Do I typically do that? Not at all. But I was with friends from school, and we were together for, most of the day. And yeah, I had a little Pinot Grigio, and it was great. So again, in moderation. All right. So dinner, excuse me. When dinner rolls around, I typically have food cooked for the seniors here of Woody's place, and I'm a big cook. I love to cook. I love to be in the kitchen, and I love to cook. So I'm always, I've always got a cookbook out or my phone on, and it's usually some recipe that I'm whipping up. And I don't do prepackaged. anything really. It's everything from scratch. I shouldn't say everything from scratch. Well, I will buy store-bought bread. It's not that I don't. Sometimes I do make my own, but I do make sandwiches with store-bought bread. But I always try to do like the higher quality and the whole grains, and with the nuts and seeds on it and all that stuff. I like the heavier, heartier bread, not just the plain white bread. So my mom is a cook as well. I'm not saying a professional cook, but a cook as well. And I can remember growing up, and first of all, we rarely ever went to any drive-through restaurants, or we really didn't eat out a whole lot. It was at home, and my mom was cooking from scratch. I mean, was a little girl sitting at the table peeling five pounds of potatoes, for mashed potatoes for dinner that night, while she was making meatloaf and green beans and all that stuff. So I learned from a very, very young age that you cook your food, and you start from scratch the best that you can, so that you are eating a healthy diet. And what I have found through the years is it fills you up more. It fills you up more. Think about it. Think about if you're going through a fast food place to get that value meal, right? That's just loaded with nasty stuff, just sodiums and nasty fats and mystery meats. Who even knows what is in between those buns with the cheese on top? I have no idea. Even the onions that they might put on them just seem so sad. Like, it's just not a good thing, right? And then you eat this, and you get about halfway through, and you're thinking you went through someplace called Mick whatever, and then you're sitting there and you're like, oh, I feel Mick, all right. I feel Mick sickness right now. And, maybe you can't even eat the rest of that. And then it's just like a weight throughout the day, and you've just got it in your gut. And it's just like, oh my God, I need to get this out of my body. I feel completely awful. But the other thing that I notice is you're hungry. It does not fill you up in a good way. It is not sustainable. It is just this nasty stuff that you quickly eat to shove in your mouth, to put in your belly. And then that's it. But if you eat whole foods, it sustains you a lot longer. It regulates your blood sugar better, and it sustains you longer, fills you up more. So I'm a big proponent about eating at home and knowing what's in the food that you're making from scratch, and not from a value meal off of a fast food place, or, some boxed whatever, or frozen prepackaged whatever in a grocery store. I'm pointing this way because our grocery store is that way. You wouldn't know that. But anyway, yeah, so I try to cook a lot at home, and I truly, truly enjoy what I'm doing. So that's my takeaway for this podcast episode. Everything in moderation, for sure. All right? Is it a big deal to have some wine or a beer or Jack Daniels? No, it's not. As long as you do it in moderation, it's not a big deal. Just like it's not a big deal if you give Max that one cookie every once in a while. It's not going to kill him. It's not going to make a difference. Same with you. Okay? As long as, you're a relatively healthy person and you don't have any underlying health issues. But is it going to affect you if day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, you're constantly doing that? You're constantly going through that drive-through to get that value meal. You're constantly buying that box of, pre-packaged whatever that you want to mix with ground beef and in one skillet and call it a meal. It is going to affect you. I mean, read the boxes. If you're in the grocery store aisle and you're picking up that box that I was just talking about, that's got some noodles and some seasoning or mystery cheese or whatever, and all you got to do is add ground beef to it, and there you go, cook it up in a skillet, and you got yourself this great, decent meal that the whole family's going to love. Read that box. Read the ingredients on that box. Can you read some of the words? Because I'm telling you now, if you can't read the words, if you don't know what an ingredient means, that's a problem. You should just be able to know what's in that box, and be able to read it and comprehend. Well, yep, this is that. Egg noodles, yep, it's got flour, it's got niacin, right? Yep, I know what that is. But if it's got all this other stuff in it, these red whatever this is, and yellow whatever that is, and dexo blah 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 whatever that is, that's an issue, and your body is going to pay for it. Your vehicle is going to get more and more dings, and we get dinged up enough through life. Just life alone will ding our body. So why contribute to it? And at the end of the day, your goal is to take care of your vehicle. And if you opted to bring this dog into your life, and now this dog is older and this dog is going to need help, you owe it to them too, to be as healthy as you can be to get them through their life, because Lord knows they're not around as long as us. So do you really want to be that person who, oh my gosh, I got to lift my dog up, I got to get him up, I got to help him up off the pillow to get him out to go to the bathroom, and everything about me just hurts, I can't do it, or I just don't have the energy, I'm just tired, I don't want to do it. That's what's going to happen. Or do you want to be that person who is, okay, maybe I'm not in my 20s anymore, but I am still able to help this dog up off the floor to get outside to go to the bathroom. And I have the energy and I have the stamina to do it. So that's the goal right there. And it all starts with what we put in our mouths, because what we put in our mouths affects our mind and our body, which in turn affects the senior German Shepherds we're caring for. So I'm going to leave it at that. Next week, we do have a special guest on, and she's going to talk more about physical activity and maybe even a routine, a physical workout that is modified a little bit to incorporate your older dog. So I'm really, really excited about that. All right. Well, listen, I hope you liked this podcast, and I hope you liked the fact that I did it outside. I look old. I'm looking at the camera. I'm like, oh, but I love the trees back there, and I hope you do too. It is prime leaf peeping season here in the lake region of the Poconos, and we have quite an influx of tourists here right now enjoying it. So I'm happy for them. But I'm sad because the leaves are falling off the trees quickly, and then that's going to usher in winter. So it is what it is. All right, folks, until next time, be well.